Today we're bringing you to a restaurant that has been cooking chicken covered in mud and buried in hot charcoals and ash for over 40 years. You have got to check out this cooking method and the incredible results. We're in Selangor, Malaysia. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Sheena, and we're chasing a plate. We hope you're hungry. Let's eat. We're really excited to show you this amazing cooking process of this Beggar's chicken that we're going to be eating today. So this is actually part of the kitchen, and it doesn't look like a kitchen, it looks more like a construction site if I'm honest. So what happens is they have this chicken that they've marinated in all sorts of sauces. They've stuffed the chicken full of ingredients, and then they come out here and there's this massive pile of earth. They take the earth and they put it in this earth churning machine, mix it with water and create this mud, and then they pack the mud on top of the chicken. The chicken is wrapped in layers of paper. They pop the mud on top, encase it so it's like a parcel, and then they pop that parcel into this really hot ash-filled oven and let it bake for 8 hours. We just watched the chicken being packed with that mud. Too thin of a layer of mud means that the chicken will burn and cook far too quickly and not retain its juiciness, and too thick of a layer of mud, it means that it just will take hours and hours to cook. So it's a real art form getting the exact thickness of that mud onto that chicken. They then take the chicken and bring it over to this oven here, and the heat coming off of this thing is crazy. I can feel it almost burning my arm. So they dig quite a shallow hole in the ash to pop the chicken onto. They put it in the hole and then they cover it with the ash. Then they put some hot charcoals on top of the chicken and then have the fan blowing so that it fans that flame or that heat which is in that charcoal. And then it just cooks for about 8 hours in the heat. Our biggest chicken has been transferred into this wheelbarrow and it's ready to be cracked open. The heat emanating from this thing is still quite strong, but I've got this hammer right here and I'm just going to give it a bit of a bash and see what happens. Alright, let's go. Whoa! Wow! That mud is just falling off. Incredible. It's still pretty hot, but I'm going to rip the rest of the mud shell off of that chicken. Wow. You can see the chicken's been wrapped in the paper and then it's been tied with string. Oh, the smells coming from this thing is nuts. It's like ripping into a birthday present. I'm going to untie the string and get into it. Oh, this is so exciting. Okay, so that was the first layer of paper, and then I'm going to rip open this one here. Oh wow, we're getting closer to the treat, and now we're ready to transfer the chicken to our plate. We're sitting down to our lunch feast. So we've got our Beggar's chicken. It's sitting in this amazing looking silky sauce. We've ordered a country fish, which is a reconstituted mackerel, but more about that later. And then we've got a plate of mixed veggies, which looks really vibrant. There's all sorts in there. And we're gonna eat this all with some white rice. But back to the Beggar's chicken because I'm dying to break into this thing. So what it has been marinated in is actually a mix of soy sauce, some Shao Xing rice wine, some sesame oil. So that's been rubbed all over the chicken before it's been wrapped in that paper and then that clay. But inside it's also been stuffed with a mixture of herbs. So I think what we'll do is just break into the middle of it and see what's hiding in there. Wow! The meat just falls apart. There was barely any resistance when I cracked into it, and look, it's just filled with all these amazing goodies. So I can see here pieces of dongui, which is a Chinese herb also known as angelica root. There's some wolfberries or goji berries. There's red dates, I'm told. Yeah, there's one stuck here, so red dates. And gosh, it's just the fragrance coming up from, or rising up from this chicken is so herbally and warming. Oh, it just smells so good, and I reckon that these herbs are going to impart such a beautiful, almost medicinal flavour to the chicken.
That was an incredible process to film, but I want to get on with the incredible process of eating this chicken. So I'm just going to try the chicken on some white rice, and I've spooned lots of that sauce or broth that's with it, the marinade. And because it's been roasted in the clay, the skin it's not crispy, it's so much moisture in the chicken, and it just ripped apart so easily, just with chopsticks, just peeling off bits of chicken. But let's eat it. I mean, we can't just keep talking about this, we have to try it. So, I've got a big bit of chicken, not much rice, let's just try it in its natural form, covered in that broth. It's got such a herbally flavour, and the broth obviously has a lot of chicken juice in it, so it's got a real chicken underlying, like a chicken soup sort of flavour in the broth, but then the herbs are very, very strong. We'll try a bit more. Look at this huge piece. Okay, I'm going to eat it all in one go. So it's got skin all on the one side, the flesh all underneath. Oh, so good. That was quite a big mouthful. It's amazing because it's so moist and it just falls apart, but it's actually still quite, not chewy, but it has a bit of chew or a bit of bite. I actually expected it would just collapse in my mouth, but it's still got that beautiful texture of eating chicken. Let's try some of this rice. It's just been soaked in that marinade, and one of these angelica roots. I've got a little goji berry in there too. So the goji berry, the root, and that rice, and you can see how it's just beautifully soaked. So that root is what's giving a really herbally taste, I think. It tastes so much like walking into a Chinese medicine store, that real beautiful hit you get of all the different herbs. That's kind of a bit of a way to, I guess, explain the flavour that I'm getting from this, and it's so good. Let's grab some more off there. You can just see, I mean, look at it. Look at that bone, that just fell off. There's a big piece of chicken. You've got the entire foot here, so it is the entire chicken, this dish, including the neck. So the neck is being stuffed back inside the cavity. You can see that head here, so the only thing missing is the head. Oh, just look at it, it just absolutely falls apart. I mean, it's unreal. Okay, one more big bit of juicy chicken. No rice, no anything, just chicken. Oh wow. Like, the flavour is so good. So good.
My mouth was watering as I was filming Thomas eating the chicken. I have just ripped off some of that drumstick. What I'm going to do is just dip it in that sauce. It looks amazing. Alright, let's just go with the chicken in one big mouthful. Wow! That chicken was so silky. And as Thomas said, the overriding flavour is that medicinal taste that's coming from all those herbs. There's a wealth of Chinese herbs in this dish, as we talked about, so I'm just going to grab a few. I've got this red date here and then some goji berries, and have that with my next mouthful. chicken. Such strong medicinal flavours as we talked about. And that chicken is just so juicy because it's been trapped in that clay shell. The juices have just sort of permeated and just circulated the juice from the chicken itself, as well as the liquid that they've added to the cooking process. This is incredible. Now this chicken's foot has been calling my name. It's really just made up of skin, there's not much meat at all, and then just some cartilage. So you basically just give it a big old bite. So soft. And then just eat round the bones. That's really satisfying. This is such an epic meal. This restaurant has some really unusual dishes, and we had to order this country fish. So it's a whole mackerel, but what they've done is that they've removed all the flesh before cooking it. They've mashed that meat up into a paste with some herbs and spices. I can see chili in there. They've deboned the fish, and then they've stuffed that paste back in and cooked it. And so it's a boneless fish paste fish, really. It looks really interesting. So I'm just going to grab a piece and just try it by itself. That fish paste is quite soft. It's got a little bit of chew, a really strong flavour, because mackerel does have a really intense fishy flavour. And then that skin is also quite chewy. We've got some chili sauce here, so what I'm going to do is just dip this piece in that and see what that tastes like. Give it a big old dunk. That was really worth adding to. So really fresh, fiery spice, and then that fish is really chewy. I really enjoy that, really intense, and it's going to go perfectly with this meal.
Now this dish comes from China, and the name Beggar's chicken seems to relate to a nobleman was riding through the forest one day and he smelt the most incredible smell. And what he found was a beggar had just cooked a chicken that he'd found in the forest, using this method. So he cooked it underground, and he just opened up that clay, and the smell was filling the air in the forest. And so the nobleman took that recipe, or took the idea, back to the court, or back to the emperor, and it became one of the dishes that they cooked for the emperor. And I love those sorts of stories about food because they give it a real meaning behind it, and who knows if that's true, but I think it's a great story. And obviously the dish would have progressed in the years, because if it is true and there was a beggar in the forest making this dish, I don't imagine he had rice wine and soy sauce and all the things you need to make the dish as it is today, but as it has evolved to this, and it is so good.
We also have this vibrant looking vegetable dish to tuck into. It's got a ton of vegetables in it. We've got some eggplant, which is known as brinjal here, red chili, there's okra or ladyfingers, there's some beans, and then these pods are petai or stink beans. It's all been wok tossed together with sambal belacan, which is a fermented shrimp chili condiment. I'm just going to grab some beans and some stink beans and some okra. So the stink beans don't have a smell, but they say that the way the stink shows itself is when you go to the loo and you pee and it smells then. So it's sort of like with asparagus, it makes you have smelly pee. Anyway, it's really good, really crunchy, a little bit bitter, but that sambal belacan, it's just given it a really savoury chili hit. All these vegetables have just been cooked to perfection, so they've still got crunch, and they've really been coated in that spicy sambal belacan, so it's just really good to go with the more sort of subtle flavours of the chicken and then that strong tasting fish.
Just gonna rip into this breast meat. Look at that, that's the breast. It is unreal how juicy this chicken is. Now when you come here, you've got to book the whole chicken. So that is why we have a complete chicken. And you have to book 1 day in advance. They do a whole lot of other meats as well. And all the meats that go into that oven that we've shown you have to be booked the day before. And boy is it worth it. Wow, what a lunch. Incredible. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to pop down below, hit thumbs up and hit subscribe for heaps more food adventures.
That was such an exciting video to film. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. We hope we inspired you to eat and explore like a traveller, not a tourist. We'll see you next time. Jumpa lagi!
Jumpa lagi!